Hey, it's Matt. This is this is fantasy football almost daily. Before we begin, I have a challenge for you. See if you can say all the words correctly in the right order. And then wherever you are listening, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or even YouTube, please make sure you are following us. We have some fairly big things coming up on this podcast feed in the next month. I don't want any of you to miss out. And if you could, leave us a 5-star rating wherever you're consuming this as well. At Fanball, you can play against real players, not algorithms. For instance, the Peacock gives you a shot at $1,000 as a top prize each week, and you play against 199 other people, not 3 million or 18 billion or whatever the other ones are. Max entry limit of 6 in the contest. So you're not playing against these big algorithms. You have a chance to win. It's a better way to play fantasy. Check out fanball.com and the lobby right now. Let's kick things off with music.
From the Sports Hub Games Network. This is Fantasy Football Almost Daily with your host, Matt Harrison.
Fantasy Almost Daily with football. Hi, Scott. It's Matt Harrison,
Hey.
Scott Fish. It's a trade deadline edition of Fantasy Football Almost Daily. We held off a little bit today to make sure we got all the sweet trades in. It's now 3 p.m. Central Time, so that's the trade deadline. And it looks like we're pretty much all done. Let's talk about some of the trades that went through in, the news.
News team, assemble!
Scotty Fish. The biggest one, I think, by far is Sauce Gardner traded to the Colts for 2 first-round picks, and then A.D. Mitchell was part of that trade from the Colts. He goes back to the Jets. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, looks like the Jets are in a little bit of a fire sale. They know they're going to get a high pick next year. I don't know how much fantasy stake we're going to put into A.D. Mitchell, but Garrett Wilson's still hurt right now. I think he's probably as valuable as he was before until we see anything more. But it's a nice move for the Colts. Try to be contenders over there with the start they have this season so far.
If you're in a dynasty league, I think that this trade says more about Daniel Jones than it says about any player in the whole trade.
Okay.
The Colts don't sell 2 first-round picks if they're not convinced they have their guy at quarterback.
Yeah, I saw some speculation out there that this is leverage on Daniel Jones' side for a big contract because they view him as the franchise and they're not going to go after a quarterback in the draft because they just gave away picks. So that does make sense. The tracks.
The Jets were involved in another big trade. Quinnen Williams traded to the Cowboys for a 2026 second and a 2027 first. And it's the better of the 2 2027 firsts between the Packers and the Cowboys picks. Nice for the Cowboys to get somebody back on their D-line, but that defense has been absolute garbage all year. Can Quinnen Williams help them that much?
I mean, anything could help. Like we could line up on that defense, and I think nobody would see a difference this year. That's how bad it's been. So it's got to help.
Scott, you have been lining up as a defensive edge rusher for the Cowboys for most of the year. How has that been for you?
Nobody noticed. That's what I'm saying. I logged 75 steps and no one saw it.
Jacoby Myers was traded from the Raiders to the Jaguars, and he's been trying to get out of Vegas. The Jags were just in Vegas. Maybe he caught the plane home with them. They trade a 4th and a 6th to get Jacoby Myers. And one of the guys I had on the list for our waiver wire portion of the show was Parker Washington. And I think that this just kind of kills Parker Washington.
It does a little bit. Reminder, Travis Hunter is on IR. They don't expect it to be too much longer than a 4-week IR, though. Recent word out there is that it's not super serious, that he might be back in 4 weeks, but also Brian Thomas Jr. is dealing with an injury too. So That's he obviously came out of that game and never returned last week. So I mean, they needed it. They needed something if they're going to try to do anything this year.
Rashid Shaheed traded to the Seahawks for 4th and 5th round picks. And this one's super interesting because, I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's the 1A for sure in that offense. But it muddies the waters a little bit for Cooper Kupp and Torrey Horton and maybe some of the tight ends catching a few extra touchdowns. Rashid Shaheed, more of a downfield burner, though, than some of those other guys I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, the Eagles made 2 tiny trades.
Yeah. I mean, Horton's got a little bit of that.
I see we must be on some sort of a delay.
Horton's got a little bit of that to his game. We are. Look at that.
Oh, that's good times. All right.
I think we're off delay now.
Are we?
I was gonna say Shaheed is such a perfect fit for that offense and for opening things up with Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Okay, I'm glad we're off the delay now. The Eagles made 2 minor trades. They got Jalen Phillips, an edge rusher from Miami, and they got Jair Alexander, the corner. They need some corner help over there. So just minor things for the Eagles. Other news around the league. Jaden Daniels got better news than we anticipated on his elbow, and his dislocation may only cost him a few games. Tucker Kraft got worse news than that. Torn ACL. He's done for the year. That's pretty sad for all of us, especially you, Fish, who I think we're one of the biggest proponents of Tucker Kraft this preseason.
Yeah, I figured I said it on this very show. I figured he would end the season a top 5 tight end. So
it's possible that he still might if everybody else does nothing the rest of the way.
And that's not out of the question. It's very possible.
CJ Stroud is in the concussion protocol. 90% of the time, it means he's going to miss this next game.
Yeah.
But usually they're back the following week. So if you're banking on Stroud for this week, you might not have him. Puka Nacua undergoing a rib x-ray, but the Rams are optimistic that he'll be able to go this week. Aaron Jones has a shoulder injury. He may be able to go this week, but it'll probably be a game time decision. Tyrod Taylor is back at practice for the Jets. I don't know if anybody else is at practice for the Jets anymore, but Justin Fields won them their last game heading into the bye, so I'm guessing it's Fields' start this coming week. Garrett Wilson looks like he's set to return this week after the Jets had their bye in week 9. Terry McLaurin, he's not set to return. He's unlikely to play with that quad injury, and one of his backups, Luke McCaffrey, he just headed to IR with a broken collarbone. And Chargers tackle Joe Alt will miss the rest of the year. He's getting ankle surgery this week, but they just the Chargers just acquired Trevor Penning right at the deadline to fill Joe Alt's spot. Anything stick out to you there?
No, not really. I think a lot of that is you stated it well. Garrett Wilson coming back. Tyrod Taylor's not going to start anyway. Concussion protocol situation for CJ Stroud. Yeah, he probably won't play this week. He'll probably be back the next week. All of that does make sense.
All right, let's go over to the quarterbacks for the waiver wire this week. We'll start with Marcus Mariota, who's 7% rostered. Daniels is going to miss at least 2 weeks, I would say, at the short end, probably closer to 4 or 5, though, I would guess. They've got Detroit and Miami in the next 2. Both are good matchups. Then their bye week, and then Denver coming out of the bye. So we got 2 good matchups. Mariota probably gets them both. If you need a plug-and-play starter, I think that's pretty solid. But you're not going to obviously use Mariota on the bye, and you're not going to use him against Denver.
No. This is if you pick him up, it's really a 2-week situation, and then you probably cut him and try to find a different streamer.
Yeah. JJ McCarthy is 26% rostered, and he looked like a solid NFL quarterback against the Lions. Maybe it was because it was the first time he played, and Christian Darrisaw played, and O'Neal played. He hit both of his tackles in the game, and suddenly McCarthy looks okay. Weird. The yardage wasn't huge, but he threw for 2 touchdown passes and ran for 1 and had some clutch throws. I think I mentioned him on Fantasy Football Weekly this last week. He's a guy who's got a fantastic playoff schedule. And if you're in a super flex league, you need to go get JJ McCarthy if he's on your wire right now.
Even in non-super flex, I think he's worthy of a bench spot in matchup plays because 3/4 of his remaining schedule is good and great playoff schedule. I wish that 31-yarder to Aaron Jones would have been counted as a pass instead of a run because his stats would have looked a little bit better. But he looks pretty good. I'm glad he showed out in that Lions game.
Davis Mills is 0% rostered, and for good measure. He's probably just a 1-week fill-in for the Texans. He gets the Jags this week. Jags are allowing the 11th most passing yards and the 5th most touchdowns. Would you start Davis Mills, or how bad would it have to be? Is he quarterback like 32 out of 32 right now for you?
I don't think it's 32 out of 32. There are 4 teams on bye this week, so I don't know how many backups I put above him, but he'd be so low on the list.
28 out of 28.
I think this is the opposite of the rising tide raises all boats situation. I think the offense tanks down a little bit with him there, even though it's an okay matchup.
Justin Fields is 40% rostered. My guess is he gets the start after getting the W for the Jets before the bye, but Tyrod is back and he'll practice this week. This matchup sucks for both of them against the Browns. I think it's plausible that the Jets play 2 quarterbacks every game for the rest of the year. They might just switch quarterbacks at halftime every game.
You got to love an NFL team doing super flex. It's
pretty cool. Maybe they should play both of them. I've always been the proponent. Play 2 quarterbacks on the field at the same time, especially if they can run. Tyrod's got some wiggle to him, and Fields can run.
Either one of them, you could set both of them up back there and have the center snap to whichever one he feels like on that play, or maybe they'll design the play for him. I like it. That's
Put
a team
one
that
in
can
motion.
do it.
Nobody will know what's going on the whole time.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the running back position. Last week there was like 8 running backs we told you to pick up. This week it's slim pickings. But Devin Singletary's 12% rostered, and you called it last week, Scott. A shaken up backfield kind of sometimes means that the guy that you don't expect to get the carries gets the carries. And Devin Singletary got the most carries last week, 8 carries for 43 yards. Yep. The next 5 weeks for the Giants backs are all bench grades, though. They get Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit, New England. Those are all tough matchups, and then a bye.
Yeah, he only got 7 more snaps. That situation may continue to split out, and you don't want to split backfield with those matchups coming up either.
Yeah. Isaiah Davis is 19% rostered, and I don't think that the Jets moved Breece Hall, even though he was very rumored to be on the trade block. I'm refreshing Twitter just a second here. It does not look like it that it happened, but Isaiah Davis, we told you to get him the week before he went off against the Bengals. He had 7 carries for 65 on the ground, 5 catches for 44 yards through the air. Granted, that was Cincy, but Isaiah Davis could get a little bit more run, and he's one of those backup running backs that just might get a lot of touches if Breece Hall were to get dinged up a little bit.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. And Breece Hall's gotten dinged up a little bit, a decent amount in his career. I don't know why they would run Breece Hall into the ground unless there's incentives at play. So I can see there being some splitting going on. This is the season to get all the backup running backs. What's sad about the Breece Hall situation is it sounds like the Jets were offering a third and the Chiefs were offering a conditional 4th that could turn into a third. And that gap was apparently just too big to make something happen.
Really? That's all it was? Breece Hall on the Chiefs would have been really fun.
That would have been a little insane. Yeah, it would have been great.
Chris Rodriguez is the last running back we're going to mention. He's 3% rostered right now. He scored a touchdown on Sunday night in garbage time, 12 carries for 65 yards. That was the same number of carries that Bill had, though. The Commanders' playoff schedule, I've outlined this before, super juicy for running backs, though. It's fantastic. It's about the best playoff schedule for running backs. If something happens to Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Chris Rodriguez could be a league winner.
Yep. Yeah. Going into this last week, it was ranked as the number 1 fantasy playoff schedule for running backs. This last week obviously might have changed that slightly. I haven't looked at the data on it yet, but yes, absolutely wonderful schedule going forward for the Commanders backs. Chris Rodriguez looked better than Bill did in this last game, and this might be just what the situation is at times. Is the hot hand, the player that's looking better is going to get more work, but they're still going to split just enough to potentially make both of them viable in really good matchups like they do have coming forward.
All right, let's go to the wide receiver position. Parker Washington is 8% rostered, and I poo-pooed Parker last week. Poo-poo Parker. But he went for 8 catches and 90 yards last week in the absence of Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Still, they just traded for Jacoby Myers. And I don't think Trevor Lawrence is that good of a quarterback. So I'm a little nervous about just him overall completing passes. And they get Houston this week and they get the Chargers next week. And he's not starting in either of those games for your fantasy team. By that time, we might be talking about Travis Hunter returning. So I'm not picking up Parker Washington, even though he's trending on Sleeper.
Yeah. Part of this last game, like Parker Washington was probably set to be okay with Travis Hunter out because Travis Hunter was taking a lot of those slot snaps. Brian Thomas Jr. went in and out of the game a couple times, played a little over half the snaps, and early in the fourth quarter, he went out for the rest of the game. So Parker got some extra work last week, and it turned into some decent stuff. But like you said, we got Jacoby coming, and Brian Thomas we assume should be back. So yeah, I don't know that I'd be picking up Parker unless you're desperate.
Slot snaps or snot slaps? Which are better?
I know, right? Probably slot snaps. I don't know. It's funny though. It's funny.
Torrey Horton is 9% rostered. 4 catches, 48 yards, and 2 scores on Sunday night. So everybody's eyeballs are popping there. My issue with Horton is 4 targets is the max he's gotten in a game all season, but he does have 5 touchdowns on the year. Yep. And Rashid Shaheed just showed up. So Shaheed's a different kind of guy, and Torrey Horton is a good red zone target. He's got a big body on him, big frame. So he could still retain that role, but I'm a little nervous that there's now more mouths to feed in Seattle.
Yeah, and several of those targets to Horton were those deep shots that now will go to Shaheed, and Horton will be able to do other stuff. So it is interesting. They saw what they were able to accomplish on a few deep shots with Horton and decide, oh, let's go get a deep target so Sam has one of these to throw to. It might be a situation where the whole offense just slightly improves and there's still some work, but like you said, Horton's been super efficient. And now there's one more mouth to feed. He doesn't get quite the volume that we would hope for.
Olamide Zaccheaus was a guy that Charch and I were discussing on our Slack ahead of Fantasy Football Weekly last week. And Charch was all about giving him a B grade. And I was like, in what world is anybody starting Olamide Zaccheaus? It doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you just start Colston Loveland instead? And it worked out for both of them because Zaccheaus had a fantastic game. But to me, this is still more of a Luther Burden is out and Cole Kmet left that game. I think that's where Zaccheaus kind of comes in. If both are out this week, I think you can dial them up against the Giants, though, because I believe you had the Giants matchup and all their corners are hurt. Yeah,
they have both starting corners and a safety injured. So yeah, there's a lot of room there. And Roma Dunze was completely taken out of that game. So like he played, but he was taken out. Like
I had him in that guillotine league that you run, Scott.
I'm sorry.
I got a 0 from Roma Dunze. It was weird.
Yeah, it's another good matchup. I wouldn't put a giant grade on Olamides, but yeah.
Charch will probably go with an A grade for him this week, I'm guessing. Alec Pierce and Josh Downs, I wanted to mention both of these guys. Pierce is 17% rostered. Downs is 62% rostered. Both had good games last week against the Steelers. 6 for 115 for Alec Pierce, 6 for 57 and a touchdown for Downs. They did play the Steelers. That matchup sets up perfectly for most receivers. Atlanta this coming week is a hard matchup, and then a bye week after that, and then Kansas City and Houston out of the bye. So that's 4 weeks of them on your bench if you're looking at either of these two Colts. So I guess I'm looking at this, and if you're chasing last week's box score, I don't think it's going to work out for you. Or if you have Downs or Pierce on your roster and you got somebody in your league who's chasing last week's box score, now's the time to sell.
It is an interesting spot because it also depends on how much you believe in this Colts offense despite matchups. Because even against the Broncos and the Rams and teams like that, Alec Pierce has had 67 or more yards in 5 of the last 6. He's constantly getting 4 catches, 5 catches, 6 catches, 60, 70, 115 yards. He's had more yards in every single game that they play together with Josh Downs. It's just Josh Downs has scored a touchdown in 3 straight, right? So I believe in the Colts offense a little bit. I think they might be a little plug and play at times, matchup plays at times. I don't love the tough matchups you mentioned coming up. But I think they're a little more real than people like their production's a little more real than people are given credit for. I also don't. What I'm trying to say is they should be on rosters, but it's give or take whether they should be in your lineup each week.
Yeah. Their former teammate AD Mitchell was traded to the Jets today. So is John Mechie, by the way. So I think the Jets are just finally going to cut all of Aaron Rodgers' buddies who are still on the roster and just going to try out some younger guys here. So those are just notable guys that move teams. Yeah. Christian Watson is 20% rostered. He had 4 targets for a second consecutive week. Right. That might tick up a little bit with the loss of Tucker Kraft. Philly this week is a tough opponent, but then in the next 4 weeks, they get the Giants, Lions, and Bears in 3 of those 4. Those are all good matchups for Christian Watson. How are you reading the Packers wide receiver situation?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of Dobbs and Watson. The volume seems to have gone to Dobbs most of the year. He's been pretty inefficient with it, except for the 3 touchdown game. Christian Watson has looked. He looked really good in that Pittsburgh game, but he's looked like he's back. I wouldn't doubt that he ramps it up now with Kraft out. The target's got to go somewhere. Jordan Love loves to spread it around, but I don't have the most amount of faith in Luke Musgrave to just take over the Kraft role. I think Kraft is a yards after the catch monster. He was at South Dakota State. He just bounces off people. I don't think you can replace that. So I think it's just replaced by volume to other receivers, and probably Dobbs and Watson are the beneficiaries.
Well, that dovetails right into our tight end position, and Luke Musgrave was the first guy on my list. He's 1% rostered, and one of the most popular pickups, I believe, this week. Is it possible that they just have him try to do all the Tucker Kraft things?
It's absolutely possible. It's absolutely possible that they just keep him in Tucker Kraft's role. We will see if Jordan Love continues to target that role or he goes to a different option in some of those plays. But it's absolutely worth the pickup just in case. Just like last week, it was Singletary was absolutely worth the pickup just in case. That's what happens with the reshuffling of this tight end position.
So Musgrave did catch three balls for 34 yards on Sunday. Those were all top marks for him this year. The upcoming schedule for Musgrave, very nice for tight ends with only 2 stoppers between now and week 16. So it would have been great for Tucker Kraft, lots of A grades, but I think we're going to see a handful of C grades on Luke Musgrave as we come up down the pipeline here.
I can see that.
I don't have a peacock noise handy. There we go. Colston Loveland. He's 25% rostered. He was my take a chance on me receiver last week. And for the second straight week, my take a chance on me receiver scored 2 touchdowns in a game. Loveland had 6 for 118 and 2. And I was watching the end of that Bears-Bengals game at a bar with my wife, and he caught that 40 or 50-yard touchdown to win the game. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's the guy I just mentioned on Fantasy Football Weekly this week. And she's like, I don't care.
Oh, I thought you were going to go the other way, that she was so impressed by you.
Oh, yeah. Just started making out with me on the spot. It was the best matchup by far for tight ends last week against Cincinnati for Loveland. They're going to be historically bad. Like, they're going to be the worst tight end defense in the history of the NFL. We're that on that pace right now.
Yeah, they're a couple touchdowns away. They've allowed 12. No other team has allowed more than 6. And I think the record is like 13 or 14 or something by 14.
Well, in the
Giants like 6-7 years ago.
In the last 5 weeks, they've allowed 10. So they're on a pretty bad pace currently. Coming up, the Giants, Vikings, and Steelers in the next 3 weeks, they're all pretty good matchups. They've had some issues against the tight ends, but not like the Bengals, of course. So if Cole Kmet is going to sit out a little bit longer, he obviously wasn't set from that back injury and kind of pushed himself back a little bit too early. And if Luther Burden remains out, I think this filters a lot of targets to Loveland.
I can see that happening. Absolutely can see that happening. It's good, like you said, it's a good schedule. He's worth grabbing now. And sometimes a game like this, even against a really great matchup, is a wake-up call to the offensive coordinator or to the team. Hey, we should utilize this guy more because look what he just did. So
yeah. He did look a little bit like Sam Laporta in a Ben Johnson offense, rumbling and stumbling down the field, knocking off defenders and scoring touchdowns. Looks a lot like Laporta's touchdown last week.
Yeah.
Last guy I'll mention, AJ Barner, 15% rostered, only caught 3 balls for 24 yards on Sunday night, but he had a 1-yard touchdown run. Ooh. He's the new goal line back. All these Kenneth Walker people are pulling their hair out. I feel so bad for them. Barner's got 5 touchdowns on the season. He's finished as a top 13 tight end 4 times this year, but he's finished as tight end 38 or worse 3 times.
Yeah.
So either he's going to score and he'll be fine, or he's going to do nothing for you.
Yeah, he's had only 2 games with decent yardage. I can check real quick, but I was going to say, I don't even know that he's top 3 or 4 catches. He's got a 7 catch game. All the rest are 3 or fewer. So it's hard to trust that volume. But once again, this is an offense I think that is going to get a little bit of a rise, and Shaheed taking the top off might open stuff up in the middle for Barner. So definitely worth being picked up.
Now, I'm kind of putting you on the spot because we didn't talk about this beforehand. And last week you did your top 5 waiver wire pickups, but last week was a pretty awesome waiver wire group. This week, do you got a top 1, 2, 3 that you'd put waiver wire picks on?
Of the list that you mentioned, I think Christian Watson's probably up there. I think Alec Pierce is up there just because he has absolutely done it. I like the 2 tight ends, Loveland and Barner, because they have set roles in that offense and set roles that might actually grow. Singletary would be the running back. You wanted me to put them in order, though, didn't you? So I'm sorry about that.
I didn't mean for this to become like your premature speculation last week where you mentioned every backup running back in the league.
Pick up running backs. I would probably put Watson 1, just see how that shakes out with what happens with Kraft. Out of the list we've done, Watson is probably 1. And then I'd probably go to Loveland, then Barner. I think I'd go that route. The other wide receivers, I think Pierce should be rostered, but Loveland and Barner play a position that tight ends are just crap a lot of the times. So taking a shot on a guy that could be legit down the line is good. Out of the quarterbacks, it's McCarthy, though. For sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. McCarthy on the quarterback side. But Mariota's got 2 nice matchups. If you need a stopgap for the next 2 weeks, I think Mariota's the guy that you want to get. Mm-hmm. All right, Scott, Anything else you got to plug this week? You got the big Fantasy Cares Spin the Wheel Bonanza. How are people getting eliminated this week in our fish fillet or guillotine league?
Yeah, the guillotine league this week, it's just a wheel. It's just the normal wheel, but we may or may not have a revival, and then we are going to vote on something. But the people voting do not know what we're voting on. So
so you just have to say yes or no, and then the question is revealed.
Something like that. Yes. So the people will vote because we're going to let them vote and let them decide, but they don't get to know what they're deciding on. They're just going to vote. So, but for Fantasy Cares, if you go to fantasycares.org, on that page, just scroll down a bit or go to the campaigns page. We have 25 days of giveaway coming up in December 1st through the 25th. We give away a signed jersey every day. If you donate to that campaign, you get 2 entries in, so you can win up to 2 signed jerseys. And it's not random players. It is like JJ McCarthy. It is like Saquon Barkley, or it's Nico Collins.
You had a Nico Collins one when you were
Justin
holding them
Jefferson. Up. Yep. Yeah. These are all star players. This is the campaign we do that we give away really, really nice signed autographed memorabilia. So fantasycares.org, scroll down a bit and you can join it right there.
All right. Before we go, don't forget to check out Game Blazers, which just dropped mega rare packs. Ooh, 15 items for $50 to upgrade your lineups to use in free contests for cash prizes. Sign up with promo code FFAD for a free starter pack and a free rare pack. Learn more at gameblazers.com. So the promo code changed a little bit. Same promo code, FFAD. But what you get changes a little bit. That free rare pack's pretty cool.
Ooh.
All right, Scott. I look forward to suddenly being chopped for no apparent reason in the fish fillet this week. And is that what we're voting on? Should Matt be eliminated from this league?
That would be amazing if it was, but it's not. It's something even more fun.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you very much, Scott. We'll see you again next week on Fantasy Football Almost Daily.
This was Fantasy Football Almost Daily. Please subscribe and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts.